So you have a team this year that can probably win shootouts, but I know you don't want to have to tomorrow against Iowa in this game between two really high-powered offenses. What do you need to see defensively against them, and what are the challenges they kind of present?
Well, I think the first thing I think for both teams is that when we play better offensively, it really helps our offense. You know, you're able to set your defense, make them, see 10 eyes at all times. They're great at pushing the ball on makes and misses. So we're going to have to do a good job picking the basketball up, setting our defense. But I think that's key for us. Our offensive execution helps us defensively. I know they think the same way. One really leads into the other. But it's going to be hard. They make tough shots just from the Virginia game. Other night, watch them play, how they're so versatile, how they can spread you out. Everybody can dribble, pass, and shoot the basketball. And they really put you in binds. They do a great job in motion offense. I think that's something that kind of gets lost sometimes when people think of Iowa. They think high-powered offense, but when they get into the half court, they're great in their motion offense. They're great in their sets when they go to and execute and just trying to kind of pick apart how you're defending things. So this is going to be a tough game for us. It's going to be a tough challenge to try to stop, Keegan Murray, Bohannon, and just their interchangeable pieces. They got a lot of good pieces on the court.
Just the player Murray's become.
Yeah.
Does that fall on Caleb at the 4, or how do you sort of?
It falls on everybody.
Yeah.
I think obviously he'll match up with him when he's at the 4, but we do a lot of different switching and things, so everybody's going to have their hand at guarding all their guys, just like we do in every game. But no, he's been very impressive. His ability to catch and shoot, to drive the basketball, to spin off a contact, to play in the low to mid post, and really just put teams in binds.
They have run quite a bit of zone, as they always do. They do some backcourt pressure stuff. Do you sort of have to be ready for a lot of different things that you haven't seen yet this season from a defensive perspective?
Right. Yeah.
Your offense against their defense.
I understand.
Yeah.
They will zone us. They will mix things up like they did other night against Virginia. They will come up into their 1-2-2 zone press. They'll if you make mistakes, if you're hesitant, they'll get aggressive on it. If you're not, they'll back up and just try to take time off the clock right there. They'll fall back into their zone or fall back into their man from that. So they do a really good job of mixing things up. And you just got to be on your toes. You got to know what's going on. But you got to get into your stuff. That's so important. At times they're aggressive, and at times they're not. It just depends on how you handle things. But it's really, really important, no matter what you're doing or what they're doing, that you get into it right away.
The other night, Florida State was keeping you from getting into it, or you guys just weren't doing as quick as you wanted to.
Right.
What do you think you guys learned from that you can apply?
Yeah, that's different because they're taking away your passes. So the things that we're trying to, everything was a little bit of an exercise to start the game, to be frank with you. Just kind of seeing what we could do, where we could get catches, where we couldn't get catches. Then we had a couple of those possessions that you just have a guy dribbling around for 10 to 15 seconds aimlessly, but it's not his fault. It's not the guy with the ball's fault. It's the other guys trying to either screen their own man, slip out of things, sprint to catch, just to ignite what we were trying to run to get it going. So more than anything, I thought our guys did a pretty good job of trying to run what we had talked about. A lot of it has to be freelance against Florida State because of how they are, but we were trying to get as many slips, lobs, manipulation of how they're defending it into wide open shots and into layups. The thing that you go into with Florida State, and I don't feel bad even admitting it, is that for everything, say you think there's 15 things that are going to work for you. You go and see how they defend or whatever. Half of them probably are and half of them probably aren't. When you go and play somebody else and you watch them and you know how they are, if you write down 15 things that are going to work, probably 15 things are going to work. And so it's just a different process, and you can't get frustrated by it, but you also can't have guys that aren't good decision makers in decision-making positions. And sometimes in basketball it's different because somebody gets a loose ball or somebody gets a long rebound, then they got to dribble up the court or things happen, and now all of a sudden they're trying to do things that they can't. Well, they really prey on that. We had 3 or 4 of those instances where I think we lost the ball one time, and we were just lucky the other 3.
It would probably be human nature for your guys to be thinking about the fact that you're probably playing for number 1. Do you want them thinking that way, or do they need to block that out?
I think you got to, it's like getting in the NCAA tournament and saying, hey, we want to go to the Final Four. Like, oh, no shit. Like, I go to the Final Four. Everybody wants to go to the Final Four. But you got to win the first game.
Right.
right? To get to the second game, like, just it's process based. It's not results based. Don't think about, hey, I want to go to a Final Four. You better think about transition defense and ball screen defense and taking care of the basketball. So it's like really important for us just to stay process based and keep our focus right there and have fun. I think a lot of times when you start thinking about other things, you lose while you're actually playing the game. Like, have discipline. The more discipline you have, the more fun you're going to have.
What have you seen from other, you're getting ready about to start Big Ten season, but just how things have played out with some Big Ten teams here in the first month.
Right.
To now that you're starting the conference season, how the pecking order might go here.
Yeah, no doubt. But you still got to win games. Like, you still got to start it off, and you're starting Big Ten play and trying to get that first win to really get going. But we've had some games in our league, and like especially with guys that are having a lot of new guys. I think you like their team, you like their talent, but now they're trying to piece things together. So we've had some surprises with some teams that maybe you thought would be in a better position and vice versa. But that's kind of how things play out. Like, if you can learn from some of those losses, sometimes winning a lot, like now, like what are you learning? If you can really learn while you're winning, that's a great trait to have as a team, because a lot of times we don't look at things differently until you get to those losses. And so like now, I think that's your job as a coach and a staff, is to make sure that you're kind of being devil's advocate, because we're making mistakes. Even though we've won all of our games, we're making mistakes, and we got to try to fix those, or it's going to cost you at some time. But overall, as the league, I think things work themselves out. Like last year, like we had 9 teams in there. We didn't do well in the NCAA tournament, and so we still had a great year, But that's kind of the dynamic of the NCAA tournament. It's kind of a crapshoot, and so hopefully we can, play well and have a great season as a league, but also play well in the NCAA tournament.
You feel like your